Alright guys, so I know I've been streaming a lot, and it's because I've been bored. I've got nothing to do around the house. Um, and yeah, just nothing. So let's just watch some horror animations, I guess. Alright, I guess they don't have any. Okay, six
I'm 20
babysitting
years
stories.
old, female, and this was the last time I willingly stayed in a room alone with a child. I used to babysit on the weekends when I was 15. Most of the families that I babysit for were nice, sophisticated families who had sweet children that I loved. However, the Cooper family were the exception. Mr. and Mrs. Cooper had two children, Michael, who was 10, and Antoinette, who was 4.
Dang, that person's
Michael
talking.
was quiet, though misbehaved and crazy demented. Antoinette was loud, cheerful, and the complete opposite of her brother. She was so innocent. I truly adored Antoinette, yet I despised Michael. He was an absolute terror. I'd watch over the two children on Friday nights for 3 hours while their parents went on a date, meaning 3 awful hours of psychological, emotional, and physical torture from Psycho Michael. There were many times that I would catch Michael staring at me while I was sitting at the dining room table doing my homework. I'd tell him to quit it,
That's not
but
creepy at all.
he wouldn't stop until I moved out of view. Michael was really cruel to his sister. He would push her down the stairs, pull the heads
Oh,
off her Barbie dolls, and cut up
excuse
her
me.
clothes. Michael would also hit the cats with a sock full of quarters. One cat actually ended up dying from internal injuries. He would growl at the neighbor's dog on a good day, and tape stuffed animals to windows with scissors sticking out of their heads on a really bad day. He was a horrible little kid to say the least, but the scariest part about babysitting the twerp was the night that he came for me. Let's keep in mind that I wasn't supposed to even be there that night, but Mr. and Mrs. Cooper called my mom and asked if I could babysit for them since their other arrangement had fallen through. My mom agreed without even asking me. I was supposed to babysit from 5 o'clock in the evening until 10 o'clock at night. It was storming out, so the television had no signal, and my cell phone didn't have any reception, and Antoinette was staying with her grandmother, leaving me alone with the psycho child for 5 whole hours.
5 hours?
I'm
That
glad
could
to
be
say
longer
that the
than that.
first few hours went by pretty quickly and without incident. He was fed, bathed, and put to bed at around 8. Michael had fallen asleep the instant his head hit the pillow. I breathed a sigh of relief and lay down on the couch with headphones in, not knowing it would be a mistake. The music was loud enough to drown out any other sounds. I stared at the ceiling for a while because there was no use in trying to delve deep into the realm of social media. I drifted to sleep at some point only to be scared awake because of an intense pressure resting on my throat.
Oh no, not
Michael
that.
was standing over me with a wide smile, gripping the handle of a kitchen knife. I wasn't able to ask what he was doing due to the sudden fear that filled me. He pushed the blade harder and harder against my neck until I could feel a burning sensation. He laughed maniacally before running out of the room. I wiped the small amount of blood from my neck while searching the entire house, only to panic when he was nowhere to be found. The sound of the cat screeching caused a breath to hitch in my throat. I quickly grabbed the baseball bat from the linen closet and hurried up the stairs. My hand hesitantly grabbed the doorknob to Michael's bedroom. I pushed the door open, which I still regret to this day. My screams of terror were drowned out by his laughter. Michael was sitting in the open doorway of his closet, with the carcass of the cat lying in his lap. I really do wish I could say that the horror had ended there,
What
but
the fuck?
it didn't. No. That twisted boy chased after me, attempting to slice my back open with every step he took. The deranged psychopath managed to get close enough to plunge the knife into my shoulder. Needless to say, I ran out of the front door and didn't stop until I was hunched over trying to catch my breath, a block away from the police station. I packed up my things a few months after that, moved into an apartment with my now husband 1,000 miles away from the town that I grew up in. I had to move 1,000 miles away from Psycho Michael in order to feel safe, but even that made me crazier. I attended therapy for several years afterward. I couldn't sleep without the lights on because the image of him holding a dead cat had permanently seared itself into my mind. I was paranoid for months, afraid that he would jump out from behind a corner, and yet I still harbored the idea of having my own children one day. Truth be told, I honestly did care about the Cooper kids, but after the injuries I suffered, physical and psychological, my parents and I had no other choice but to press charges, at the very least to pay for medical bills and counseling. Michael, being as young as he was committed to a psychiatric treatment in juvenile detention for nearly 3 to 5 years from what I heard. But after all the legal processes were complete, I couldn't bring myself to digging any deeper as to not relive that memory. Looking back on the incident now makes me feel silly for even being scared of a 10-year-old. It's strange how life works sometimes. It's strange how I just froze there. I eventually realized that I don't want children, and I absolutely refuse to babysit for anyone. Babysitting wasn't the job that I had imagined having while I was a senior in high school. I was paid a decent rate by the hour for watching kids that only needed to have an adult around while their parents were out. I know exactly what you're thinking. Why would you willingly waste your time watching children when you could have been working retail or some other halfway decent job? Am I close? Well, as you can imagine, the majority of kids I've looked after were happy, normal children, but my sister's children, let me get to that. Here's a little background just to help you better understand why I don't foresee myself having children anytime soon, if ever. I'm a male and a social outcast at that. I was 16 when my mom told me that I'd be babysitting for my older sister. Naturally, I shrugged it off as it were no big deal because, what's the worst that could happen, right? My sister needed to go out of town on a business trip for 2 days, which then caused my mom to decide that I was the right candidate for the job. I learned very quickly that kids are hungry literally every 5 minutes, and they have no respect for the babysitter, and they are totally out of control.
Not gonna lie, it's true. I'm hungry every like 5 seconds. Like, it makes sense. He has great logic.
Without their parents around. That was a bummer. Kids are perceived as sweet, innocent, and all-around pure, yet I have first-hand experience on just how truly creepy some kids can be. I have been around my nieces and nephews dozens of times before, so there wasn't any reason for me to think that they were a bit peculiar, aside from the fact that I walked in on Nat,
That's literally my sister.
short for Natalie, attempting to sacrifice her sister to the devil in order to bargain for immortality by shoving Lux's hand into a blender. Luckily, I was able to pry her away from the blender before she could turn it on. I had been watching them for less than 20 minutes when that incident occurred. Fast forward to this first afternoon, the kids were playing in the toy room, so I decided to watch television before doing my homework. I was in the middle of a funny movie when Mike cut the side of my neck with scissors. He drew a pentagram on the floor with ketchup, chanted something in a language that I didn't recognize, they probably made it up, and locked Jay in the basement. Tony was the good kid who explained that Mike was trying to summon a demon, someone that is close to the devil so that he could...
I swear, in families, there's always this one good kid. Always. I don't know. I don't know why, but there's always this one good kid.
bargain Jay's soul for immortality. Mike angrily hissed at me when the plan didn't work. I swear to God, those freaking creepypastas they watch really don't help them. It was then that I learned that they had a crazy obsession with vampires, the need to be immortal and trying to...
If you have an obsession with vampires, why don't you watch Twilight? Like, not me though. I'm not going through that. You'd have to like pin me down and force me to watch that.
draw blood from people as their way to fulfill the desire to be like the people in movies or books. These kids were actually trying to figure out ways that they could become immortal without having to stay so small for all of eternity. I thought that was a bit unhealthy. I still have no idea how the internet or horror movies, when their parents weren't looking,
Little girls come down with scissors. Pointy end?
really activated this, but I'm honestly still scared of what could have happened. Nat was the eldest child. She was the bad influence on her siblings. She was the entire reason why everything went down on the second night. I was studying
So basically, what he's saying is she deserved to die? That's what I'm hearing.
for a calculus test that I had the next day. The kids were supposed to be playing in the backyard, which was the mistake. All I really remember about studying is that I had been exhausted from chasing around those brats the night before because I ended up falling asleep at the kitchen table. I woke up sometime in the afternoon with my hands and feet tied to a metal pipe in the basement, while my deranged nieces and nephews stood over me with a weird look in their eyes. I struggled for a good 10 minutes to free myself from that stupid rope as they chanted some weird language again.
Nah, 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 hey, nah, yeah. Are they literally singing the Frozen song? 'Cause that'd be a weird chant.
I assumed that they were really trying to sacrifice me. However, I was relieved when I saw one of the cats knock a candle off the windowsill. The carpet and lengthy silk curtains immediately caught fire, which caused the kids to untie me. We rushed out of the house and to safety just in time to watch the house burn, literally to the ground. I stood motionless for what seemed like hours before eventually the police were called by the neighbors. I called my mom to come get the kids before being questioned by police for over 3 hours. The detective
What you gonna say? Oh, the cat just, knocked over a candle. You know, burned the whole house down. Makes sense, right?
that was interrogating me surely was about to arrest me, but the fire department later ruled that the fire was an accident. My sister angrily barged into my room once she arrived home and informed me that I was no longer allowed to babysit her kids again, and literally almost beat me senseless if it wasn't for my parents stopping her fury. I cried tears of joy at the news and never babysat again. I tried to explain the story to both the detectives and my family, though my nieces and nephews' stories all apparently corroborated against my own, and there was nothing I could do. Needless to say, I never visited their family again, both by being shunned and by choice. Natalie and the other kids all grew out of the vampire phase from what I heard once they hit junior high and acquired less creepy, less dangerous interests. I'm 28 years old now, incredibly far away from my family, married to the most amazing woman, yet I still refuse to think about having children. You never know what they're going to get into.
I've had a lot of scary experiences, but I really think this one's the scariest. It was October 2015, and my sister was giving birth, and I was babysitting her son, who was 9 at the time. The second night I was there, this happened. I'd put my nephew to bed in his room, and then the dog in his cage in my sister's room, which I have to get past to get to his room. I then go downstairs and I get on YouTube on my computer. Well, about an hour later, I hear a door slam. I just assume it's my nephew going to the bathroom. I then hear another slam. I assume it's just him wanting privacy, and I then hear a third door slam yet again. I don't know how to explain it, but I kinda just knew that it wasn't my nephew. I kept hearing things being moved around.
Oh, I don't know. Probably because you hear one door slam, then get your nephew. 'Cause that's more idea. Second, you just.
Kinda like a dresser being moved across the floor. I then start to remember that this house was built not as a regular house back in the day.
Don't get it.
The attic is apparently connected to the house next door. All you have to do is go up the attic, walk a little, then lift the top and climb down the ladder. I had no choice but to go check on my nephew. I'm still hearing noises as I go up. I hear the dog in his cage going absolutely crazy, like he was trying to get out or something. I walk halfway up the stairs, then all of the noise just stops. I look in his room and he's sleeping with his door open. There was no way in hell I was going to walk past that pitch black room. In my mind, as long as he was safe, that's all that mattered. I then walked back downstairs.
If it was pitch black, how do you know if he's safe?
As soon as I walked back downstairs, I then hear footsteps running, followed by a door slam. Well, the next day I decided to tell my sister and brother-in-law. After I told them, what they said next to me chilled me to my core. Without any concern in the world, they went on to tell me that it was the spirit of our dead neighbor. Now, you're probably thinking, why didn't I just call the cops already? Well, I wasn't really thinking straight at the time. I was just way too scared, and I guess now it's a good thing that I didn't.
Not really thinking straight.
A few weeks later, my mom had told my oldest niece, who was 16 at the time. She said that whenever she was in there, she always felt the feeling of being watched. To this day, I still don't know if I believe it was a ghost, or maybe an actual living intruder. All I know is that I for sure wasn't alone that night besides my nephew and I. Never again will I babysit there. Screw that. I think I was only 13 years old when this happened. I would be paid extra since I was going to be babysitting so many kids. I don't recall how many, but there were a lot. The reason why I was trusted with so many was because I knew them since my parents and their parents were all friends growing up, making us kind of form into a group. Now, I was the oldest out of every single kid, which was the reason I was in charge. Of course, it was going to be a long night, knowing that our parents would be at some bar far away until like around 2 in the morning, and then stay at a hotel. For some background, I knew the kids, and they knew me. I being the oldest, 13 at the time, and the youngest being around 4. There was definitely a little bit of an age gap. The majority of the kids were around 9 to 10. Anyway, the parents left, and when they did, it was already around 4 in the afternoon. About 2.5 hours later, I made dinner for them. We sat down, and everyone ate their pasta. Because all the kids were together and they all knew each other, things got pretty crazy. I won't go into detail on exactly what went down, but some of the kids were just
Food fight.
totally wild. I didn't really mind it though. It was pretty funny at the same time, but that's besides the point. So after a couple more hours, it was getting pretty late. I recall it being around 11:30 when kids were starting to settle down. I had to take care of some of the kids who injured themselves by doing some really stupid stuff that was really dangerous, and I couldn't make it in time since I had to deal with some other problems as well. But I would consider myself a very caring and kind person because I always did what I needed to do to calm them down. So like I said, it was around 11:30 when they were starting to settle down, and then not too long after, they were starting to pass out. I brought and carried them upstairs and put half of them in one of the 2 kids' rooms. For the sake of keeping the real names out, basically we were at the house that belonged to the Abels family. Ava and Dom were the kids in the family, making it their house. I put half the kids in Dom's room and the other half in Ava's room. They passed out very quickly after that. I went back downstairs to chill out and then listen to some music. After listening to music for a while, Ava comes downstairs, and this is where things start to take a turn for the worst. I had to look because I was listening so loud that I couldn't even hear her calling my name. She then said in a really scared tone, "Something keeps being thrown at the window in my room." I'm really scared. I was a little uneasy to be hearing this since this was such a weird thing to be happening at this time of night. I gave her a hug and I assured her that everything would be alright and that I would go check it out. The bedrooms were on the 3rd floor, so this was especially weird since the room's windows were really high up. I went into Ava's room and I saw that the kids were sleeping. I guess no one else had heard the something hitting the window. I started to think that Ava was just making this up or something. I went back downstairs and I went to the couch where Ava was. I was a bit surprised to see that Ava wasn't there. This is when I then hear something from downstairs. It sounded like a muffled girl scream for help. I quickly ran down there to see Ava in the garage, then being dragged out of the garage by a dark figure. Someone had forgotten to close the garage door, so it was just open. I was so scared and I went into full-on panic mode. I then went back inside to go grab a weapon or something that I can use in quick defense.
Randomly, there's just like a
I
hooded
found this
figure
spear-looking thing
drag
that's used for
somebody.
fires and also pushing wood in other areas. I picked it up, then ran outside to look for Ava. I soon saw Ava and this really dark figure, which was taking Ava in the backwoods. I then hit the dark figure in the back of the knee, practically stabbing the figure since it had a sharp edge on the side of it. The figure fell back and let out a yell of pain, which is when I grabbed Ava and then practically carried her back into the house. Very stupidly, I left the weapon I had outside. Since I was in a panic, I think that I just didn't have time to think about it since Ava was the main priority for me. I get back inside and close the garage door, hoping that was the end of it. I decided not to call the cops because I get really nervous when it comes to cops, so I just wanted to avoid that. I ran upstairs but tried not to make too much noise to see if any of the kids were awake due to hearing the commotion from outside. There were only about 2 kids who were awake, and they asked what was happening. I told them to just fall back asleep and that there was a situation that happened.
What's happening? I'd be like, that's what she said. Oh, come on, that was funny.
They really wanted to know what, but I just told them I'll tell them in the morning.
It'd be like,
I really don't blame them.
that's what's
I think I would also want to know what was happening, especially after all that commotion. So anyway, I go back downstairs on the couch where Ava thankfully was this time, and she falls asleep with the comfort of me there the whole time. Fast forward to the morning. It's around 7:30 and I can hear some commotion from upstairs. The kids were up and playing. Ava had woke me up and she was really happy to see me there. I think I really made her feel safe. After that night, me and Ava's connection was a little bit different from before. As the story is becoming better, the final spook is yet to come, so get ready.
Oh yeah, I'm ready.
I walked downstairs to see if anything had been stolen. I checked and I didn't really see anything out of the ordinary. Well, nothing out of the ordinary, except for one thing. There happened to be a paper that was in the garage. It was taped to the sliding.
I swear, if it said red rum, I would laugh my eyes out. Cause a shining reference inside of this. That'd be great.
Door, and I think that's why I paid attention to it. I started to read it, and it said one word: revenge. I was really scared reading this because how the hell could someone have put this here? Then reality hit me that someone had to have come inside after the garage door had been closed, which is when I thought we were safe. I haven't shared this story with Ava because I don't want her to feel scared or threatened more than she probably already does. I do still have a few questions left unanswered though. Who did this? Why did they target this house specifically? And last but not least, did the intruder purposely try and take Ava out of everyone there? Why did he want her specifically? I know I'll probably never have my answers to these questions, but it's absolutely chilling to think about. I'm a female, and I'm 15 years old. This all started a couple months back when I got my very first job as a babysitter. I babysit on Sundays, Mondays, and
My question is, why is everyone's, doesn't matter what gender it is, why is everyone's first job a babysitter? Like, my first job is not babysitting. Thank goodness for that. 'Cause I would probably murder the kid if it was a pain. 'Cause I hate kids, and kids hate me, so they already have it.
Tuesdays. Keep that in mind. The people I babysit for don't even live that far away from my house. Their house is like a block away from me. So by now you've probably guessed that I walk to work. No, I've always been a very cautious person, and also a paranoid one, so keep that in mind too. The first time it happened was after a month of doing my job. One day I got done babysitting and I just walked to my friend's house that's a couple of blocks away from their house. So as I'm walking there, I hear someone behind me. I should also mention that I was Snapchatting my friend to let her know how far away from the house I was. Anyways, I hear someone behind me, so I turn around and see this guy on a bike right behind me. I didn't think too much about it, but I was keeping him in mind. I don't pay much attention.
The guy looks like he's high as crap, okay? Like, look at his eyes. His eyes are so red. Somebody's been doing bad stuff.
To him and I keep Snapchatting, just in case he tries something. I then turn to the left, and so does he. At this point, I'm really aware now of what this guy's doing. I'm pretty sure he's following me. The guy looked tall as hell, and I'm only 5'5". So again, I make a turn, and so does he. By now, I'm getting pretty panicked, and I'm very much aware that this guy is following me. Anytime I slowed down, so would he. If I sped up, again, so did he. My friend's house comes into view, and I speed walk over there with him telling me. I reach her front door, and I start knocking, and then I hear someone say,
"Hey, you better watch out. I'll get you."
and I turn around,
You'll get me, no, I'll get you.
and the guy was right behind me in front of her house. By this point, I'm very panicked, but I just keep knocking, and before she answers, this guy then pulls something out. At first, I didn't know what it was, and
He's got a gun. Oh crap.
so I looked a little closer, and you guessed it. The guy literally pulled out his penis.
Okay. Okay, buddy. I thought he was gonna have a gun. I didn't think it was gonna be this bad. Sorry to you sensitive people out there.
Right as he does that, I pull my phone up and I catch him in the act. And my
Bruh.
friend then opens the door. She lets me inside and she asks me why I'm shaking. I then show her the video and she tries calming me down. Fast forward a week later as I'm walking to my job and I see him yet again. My heart instantly drops and I just speed walk to the lady's house which I work for. He didn't
Yeah, woman, don't look at his penis.
really say anything. It was more like he was just watching me this time. This happened every single time that I would walk to work. But he wouldn't try anything because it would be daytime, and most of the time someone was around. That all changed when they asked me to babysit their daughter at 10 p.m. I wasn't really going to walk to work alone, so I asked the lady if she'd come pick me up instead. She did, and of course nothing happened. We then started doing that until I was calm enough to walk by myself to work. The following week, she asked me again to babysit at night, so I decided to take a knife with me just in case something happens, and I told my mom goodbye. I walked.
She takes a knife, imagine a cop pulls her over. What are you doing with that knife? Oh, this guy's chasing me, you know. Pulling out his penis, you know. Gotta grab a knife.
Out in the really dark street,
Gotta be safe.
and the lights in that area weren't really good, which is why I was so scared to walk there in the first place. But anyways, I was walking to work, and I then hear a crunch behind me. My body then immediately tenses up. I knew someone was there, but I really dreaded thinking it was him.
Dang, you're really stomping on that stick. That's weird.
I decide not to look back, but instead just speed walk again. For a few minutes I didn't even hear anything, but I then turn around, and there he fucking is. I don't say a single word, and just straight up bolt to their house.
Freaking Freddy Krueger. I'm coming to get ya.
I tell them what happened, and she told me not to worry and that he wouldn't do anything, then left me to babysit. Fast forward the second day, and I walked to work, and nothing happened this time. I was checking all my surroundings like a really crazy person, but no one was there. I then turned to knock on their door.
Freaking somebody looks through their window and freaking sees, where am I? Where am I? Be like,
and from the corner of my eye, I see movement. I look, and this guy's leaning out from behind trash cans, and I barely caught him. My heart started going crazy. I then knocked harder on the door, and I saw him from the corner of my eyes just looking at me. He probably didn't even know I saw him, but I did. Fast forward the next day, and the walk to work wasn't really that much. I didn't see him, but the walk back, that's a different story. I was walking back, and I think it was about 12 a.m. I texted my mom that I was on my way home, and she told me to stop by the store. Now, this store is like right across from our house, so it wasn't really a big deal. This weird creep follows me, all the while making kids noises and saying really weird things like I love you over and over again. I just
Dude, what a creep.
walked to the store, and this guy literally stands right in front of the store. I get very angry at this point, and I tell the cashier what's going on. He then looks at the guy for a minute and then tells him to leave. He says he wants to buy something, but the guy just tells him to leave. Well, he doesn't leave, and he just keeps on standing there. So I then say to him, "Why are you following me?" He then says back,
I'm not following you.
and I said, "Yeah, sure you're not." And I just stand in line and get my stuff and then walk out the door. The guy has the audacity to continue following me, all while making kissing sounds and then repeatedly saying,
I love you. I'd die for you.
I was just so fucking mad at this point that I snap back and say, "Look, fuck off, you creep."
Freaking, you get so mad, you'd be like, yeah, well, I hate you, so, duh.
"Leave me the fuck alone already," with a very angry tone. This doesn't even have an effect on this guy, and he just keeps repeating the same shit. I then tell him, "Look, I know where you live, and I'll tell your mom about this, because I've actually seen him leave the apartments that are near the store." Anyways, he doesn't even care what I'm saying, and he's making eye contact with me the entire time. I just walk to my house, and I finally get there, but right before I get inside and slam the door, I then say to him, "If you ever follow me again, you're gonna fucking regret it." He responds to this by laughing, then saying,
Oh yeah? What the hell are you gonna do?
and proceeds to blow me a kiss. I then just walk inside, feeling
That's
very
so
numb.
cringe.
I had just finally got home, and I just started sobbing. My sister asked what was happening, and I told her everything. She's extremely overprotective with me, and she got really pissed off after I told her. She tells me that she's gonna walk me to work, and that if we see him, she's gonna kill the guy. Obviously, I know that's not true, but it really made me feel better. All of this happened last week, and today in a couple of hours, I have to babysit again. I know it doesn't seem like much, but I'm still really scared of what will happen to me in the future. I really don't even know what to do at this point. If any of you guys that are listening have some advice, please tell me what to do. I appreciate you taking the time to listen, and if anything else happens, I'll definitely give you guys an update. Be safe out there.
Nah, I'd rather be
In June of
danger.
1969, 6-year-old Dennis Martin accompanied his family on a camping trip to the Great Smoky
Alright,
Mountains
these
National
babysitter
Park.
ones are getting me so annoyed. No. Shoot.
A mountain range rising along the Tennessee-North Carolina border in the southeastern United States.
Dude, freaking like,
The name
freaking
Great
like,
Smoky Mountains comes from the
dark
natural
web
fog that
stories
often hangs over the
ever.
range, appearing as large smoke plumes from a distance.
Like a stone as Oliver gazed at us from head to toe, then turned around facing the wall. He said in a creepy voice, "Green light." As soon as he said that, Jonah and I ran to the main door like scared little kids. I twisted the doorknob and it didn't open. Yes, it was locked. He locked it right away before any of us could notice. I couldn't go on with this insanity anymore. I ran to the power box and turned on the lights. As the bright lights hit the floor, we found Corey's headless body lying on the couch. Blood was flowing from her slashed neck effortlessly. The entire mattress was red. I screamed, "Oliver, why are you doing this? You have to stop this madness." Just then, I noticed a box wrapped in a shiny cover, placed under the same couch Corey was lying on. Before I could contemplate on this thought, Jonah grabbed my baseball bat from the corner, and just then, Oliver yelled, "Red light!" and turned around. Even though I paused, Jonah rushed to Oliver to attack him. But before he could reach him, Oliver took out a pistol and shot him right in the middle of his forehead. Splashing a lot of blood and brain matter, Jonah's lifeless body fell on the floor, creating a loud thud. I stood there, trembling in fear, not saying a single word. Two of my childhood friends are dead in my own home, and their killer was another childhood friend of mine. Oliver smiled at me and said, "I told you, you'll be the lucky one. I will turn around for one last time so that you can go ahead and grab your gift." He faced the wall again and said in a calm voice, "Green light." I lunged to the couch and took out the gift box. Something inside my head hinted to me that I really need to open this anyhow. As soon as I unraveled the gift, I met with the ultimate game plan of Oliver. The gift was none other than my own house keys, which will help me to unlock the door. I ran to the door and unlocked it with my shaking hands when Oliver turned at me and said, "Game over," then shot himself in the head. The last gunshot numbed my ears, and I vomited on the house porch after witnessing so much in such a short span of time. When the cops came and witnessed this bloodshed, I just stood like a poor kid who wanted to run away as far as possible. 3 of my friends died in the same night, in front of me, while playing this childhood game that Squid Game brought back to us once again. I wish we never would have treated Oliver like that. If we were really nice to him back then, things would have been a lot different. All of my friends would have been alive.
Hey guys, I see many of you commenting on my videos that this channel deserves 1 million subscribers. But I also... later.
Web series, everyone can enjoy the
Give me 1 million subscribers, please.
show. The recent web series, Squid Game, has risen to fame because of its unusual and twisted plot. But as everyone can enjoy the show, I can't. There's one element of this show that makes me cringe like crazy, and that is the dalgona candy. As soon as I heard about it, so many dark memories lashed out of my mind. I have been introduced to this typical Korean candy way back before Squid Game gave it worldwide fame. My name is Sarah Stewart, and this is my story.
Wow.
I grew up in the countryside with fresh air, a clear sky, cheerful people. Being from a small village left very few options for entertainment. In those days, children used to play in the parks, run in the mud, and sail paper boats in the ditch near the roads. Childhood was easy and innocent. Every afternoon, my brother and I used to go out and play with the neighborhood kids. There wasn't a constructive park like the big cities have these days, but there was indeed a huge green field adjacent to the woods. Kids play there, locals went for their walks. The field was so vast that even all the people of the village were not enough to make it crowded. One cloudy afternoon, my brother and I wore our raincoats and went to the field to ride our bicycles. Mom gave us strict warning to head home if it started to rain. The sky was filled with big dark clouds. My brother Jason has always been a stubborn and hyperactive kid. He rode his bicycle intentionally over the puddles of water so that it splashed. A few people were chatting in one corner. Except that, no other kids were playing that day. Jason and I were racing when my eyes went to a secluded part of the field. There was a big bushy tree, and the woods started right after that. Under the shadow of the big tree stood a man with a small trolley. "Who is that?" Jason asked me, following my eyes. "Think he's selling candy," I said. "Do you have money?" "Yeah." "Let's go then." Saying this, Jason started to ride his bicycle at full speed towards the candy man. Being the big sister, I had to go after him. We reached near the spot and got a clear view of the man. All his clothes looked quite old and rusty. He wore a brown farmer hat, probably to save himself from the rain. What surprised me more was his candy. They looked like big caramel lollipops with various shapes stamped on them. And all the candy were the same flavor. I realized he is a poor candy seller who was probably trying to make money with the little he can. He laughed in a squeaky voice and said, Wanna try some candies, dear? How much is it? 2 candies for $1. Seeing the size of the candy, I became shocked hearing the price. I thought to myself, these are cheap. Before I could ask more, Jason yelled in excitement, "I'll take this one!" The man handed him over a lollipop that had an umbrella stamped on it. I gave him $1, and he handed me another one. Mine had a star stamped on it. Taking the money, he smiled and said, "What are you two doing alone here? A storm is about to come." "Yeah, we'll head home now. Come on, Jason." Saying this, I looked at my brother, who by that time had already taken a big bite of the candy. But he didn't pay attention to what I said and spat the candy from his mouth on the ground, screaming,
Freaking pow.
"Ew! These taste awful! You're the worst candy maker. You make the worst candy." He threw the remaining candy on the ground and stomped on it, making the umbrella shatter into pieces. I felt embarrassed with his behavior because, no matter how it tasted, he shouldn't have insulted the poor man in his face. I scolded him, saying, "Jason, didn't Mom tell you to behave in front of others?" I was going to scold him more, but the man stopped me and said, "It's okay. He is just a kid." He then crouched down to Jason's face and said, "I am sorry. Maybe they won't be bad due to the weather. I do have freshly made ones at home. And there are many other candies as well. If you want, you two can come with me."
Whoa, creep.
I turned around and saw there was no one else in that field except us. A siren of trouble went loud in my mind. I said in a fumbled voice, "It's quite late now. We should be going. I'm sorry for my brother's behavior." The man laughed in the same manner again and said, "It's fine. I thought you guys will like some toys that I made for kids. Too bad you have to go home now." "Toys? Sarah, please, let's go. I want toys." "But Mom said to be home. It's not even raining yet. She said to be home before it starts to rain." "Don't worry. My house is nearby." No matter how many red flags I saw, I still couldn't refuse the invite of free toys and candy like my brother. I gave up finally, and we started to follow the man. He rode his trolley, and we rode our bicycles behind him. Leaving the field behind, we took a narrow path heading into the woods. After riding for 5 or 7 minutes, we came in front of a small wooden cabin. "This is my home. Come in." The man parked his trolley on the side and opened the door. We kept our bicycles beside the cabin and walked in with him. It was a small cabin with very little furniture. A soggy smell was all over the air like it hasn't been cleaned for a long time. The man took us into a small room which was more like a kitchen. I could see dirty plates lying in the sink with cockroaches crawling on them for leftovers. A disgusting feeling shivered down my body, seeing the filth all around. On the stove lay a pan with a caramel liquid filled in it. He lit the stove and told us to sit on the chairs kept in the corner. I sat down, but Jason said, "Where are the toys? I want them now." "You are a stubborn kid. Can't you learn anything from your sister?" "I want the toys now." "Can you watch this till I come back?" I nodded my head, and the man went to the other room with Jason. I sat down and watched the caramel boil. Few moments went by, and when they didn't come back, I got a bit worried. I pushed the door open in one go and saw Jason was tied to the bedstand while the man sat near him with a sharp knife. "What are you doing to my brother?" "I am going to make him the best candy he will ever taste." He then lunged at me and pressed a funky-smelling cloth on my mouth. I don't know why. My head became dizzy and I lost the willpower to scream or fight back. I don't remember how long I was out, but when I woke up, I found myself tied to a chair. I was back in that kitchen again. At some distance, the man was stirring that pan which had caramel boiling in it. He took a full glass of red liquid and poured it into the caramel mixture. An awful burnt metal smell choked the air in the room immediately. "Oh, you're awake. Do you know what this is?" Look at there. Look. I looked at the corner of the kitchen where he gestured and saw Jason was lying on the floor with his eyes wide open and wrists slashed. Blood was dripping like a fountain. The man drank some blood from his cut-open wrists and then poured it again into the caramel mixture. After stirring it for some more time, he poured it into a tray in the shape of a big circle, then grabbed a balloon-shaped stamp and made a mark on the caramel mixture, which was now red with my brother's blood. Here you go. The world's tastiest candy is ready. Want to try it out? He then picked up the balloon-shaped red dalgona candy and licked it in front of my eyes. The red blood cells stuck to his tongue, making it red. His eyes widened and he said, "Now it's your turn." He started to walk towards me with that candy made from my brother's blood. I cried and pleaded with him to let me go, but he didn't. He crouched down at my level and shoved the candy into my mouth. The metallic taste made me vomit on the floor right away, and just then I heard footsteps rushing into the cabin. "Freeze, or we will shoot!" The cops entered the kitchen, pointing their guns at him. I woke up in the hospital and saw my parents standing near me with tearful eyes. When my brother and I didn't come home, my parents started looking for me. They heard from some local people that we were talking to this fishy-looking candy vendor, and that was the last time they all saw us. With the help of the sheriff and his team, my parents started searching for us and heard my scream coming from a distance. Following that, they discovered this wooden cabin, and what happened next is not hard to guess. Even though they saved me, my brother died that day. He lost a huge amount of blood, and on his way to the hospital, he took his last breath. The Candyman is now facing a life sentence in prison. I will never be able to watch this web series, no matter how trendy or exciting people label it. The Squid Game reminds me of that dalgona candy that was made by my little brother's blood. I don't know if I will ever be able to forgive myself for what happened
Chat, comment down below if you guys think that was actually a true story.
recently, or what I made happen. This is my first year in college, and I am a murderer in the eyes of the entire college already. I have been a highly competitive individual since childhood. I love taking dares, accepting challenges as they give me an adrenaline rush. Without caring for my life, I have gone to extremes just to win a challenge for the sake of popularity among friends. And this stupid mindset has landed me in this awful situation that I am now in. My father always screamed at me whenever I failed to say, "This world has two kinds of people, winners and losers. You decide who you want to be, Andrew." Growing up, this toxic masculinity grew in me so deep that I forgot the most important meaning of life is humanity. I have been a popular kid wherever I went. When I joined college, I immediately made a lot of friends. We partied hard and were always looking for something fun. It felt like my life is one of those teenage dramas where I am the main character and the handsome hero. There was a love interest as well. Her name was Tatsumi. She was the prettiest Korean girl I have ever seen in my life. Hence, not only me, but many guys were also desperate to get her attention. Among them was one of the most annoying ones, Jackson, aka Jack. Jack and I were arch rivals. If anyone could give me top-level competition, it was him. And many people took advantage of our tussles by enjoying it like reality shows. Anyways, so last week, we got invited to a friend's house who threw a huge pool party. Everyone was getting drunk, jumping in the pool, dancing like crazy. Tatsumi was sitting on the poolside wearing a red t-shirt with cute denim shorts. She looked gorgeous like always. As our eyes met, she smiled at me, and I walked up to her like a moth drawn to the flame. "Hey, enjoying the party?" "Well, not much. It's boring. Maybe I can make it interesting for you." Really? We were having this flirtatious conversation when from nowhere, Jack popped up holding 2 beers. He looked at me with his cunning eyes and said, "Where are your manners, Andrew? There's a beautiful girl right in front of you, and you didn't even offer her a drink." No doubt he caught me off guard, and I got pretty embarrassed. Tatsumi took the beer bottle from his hands, and I could see her smirking. Honestly, now I realize how she was dodging both of us at the same time. She enjoyed so much attention. Some people just love it when others go crazy about them. And that's exactly what I was. Crazy about her. But this uncalled entry of Jack and his sly remarks set fire in my mind immediately. I gave him a pissed look and said, "Well, we must stack the beers for the night because this is your old strategy to look cool in front of girls. But I don't blame you. With that face, you need to go an extra mile to impress them." The entire crowd started laughing like crazy, and Jack's face turned red with this unexpected insult. I walked away from there and sat in the lounge area with my other friends. I wanted to take my mind off Tatsumi, so I started chatting with them. I saw two people watching a web series and talking highly about it. That's how I came to know about Squid Game. The episode they were watching was quite grooving. Two separate groups of men were playing tug of war on a high-rise platform. Whoever wins ends up pulling the opponent's team to such an extent that they fall off that high place. Everyone saw how fascinating this show is when Tatsumi said, "Well, I wish we could play some games too. This party is so boring otherwise." As soon as she said it, Jack came right in front of me and said, "Wanna play tug of war?" I smiled and said, "Stop making everything about you and me, Jack. There are other people in this party as well." Whoo-hoo, looks like somebody got scared. "Are you worried that I'll beat you in it, Andrew?" I mean, I understand. Tug of war is about physical strength after all.
Bruh, I'm gonna grab my fist and clock you straight in the mouth.
Jack was taller than me, but I wasn't some skinny dude either. I played basketball my entire life, so I'm well confident about my strength as well. Jack went on dissing me like he always does, and for some time, I did ignore him. I would have done this the entire time, but suddenly, he made a very weird announcement. Jack walked straight up to my face and said, "Whoever wins will get to go on a date with Tatsumi." Tatsumi, I hope you don't mind this. Absolutely not. I also want to see who wins, only if Andrew decides to take part in this. At that very moment, I realized what a vixen she is. She was ready to make one of us feel embarrassed after this stupid challenge just to be the talk of the town. I decided I will defeat Jack first and then slam the refusal of going on a date right on Tatsumi's face. I took off my t-shirt, revealing my perfectly shaped abs, and said, "Fine, bring it on." Everyone in the party started cheering and screaming, "Tug of war, tug of war, tug of war." Jack took off his shirt as well, and one friend brought a big rope from the garden shed into the lounge. The rules were simple. Jack and I will be standing face to face, keeping the pool between us. To win, one has to pull the opponent in such a way that he falls into the pool. There will be 3 rounds, and the one with the maximum points will win the game. As decided, Jack and I took our positions. One friend blew a party horn, and we started to pull each other like crazy. Struggling for 5 minutes, I made a sudden jerk, which led Jack to lose his grip, and he fell into the pool, making a huge splash. My friends cheered like crazy, and Tatsumi sipped her beer like she was a princess watching 2 men fighting for her. Jack came out of the pool drenched in water and screamed, "Good one, Andrew, but the game has just started."
Whoa, hold up. That was
I was thinking to score the next round and finishing this nuance once and for all, but a change of plan occurred. Due to overconfidence, my hand slipped and Andrew dunked me into the pool, scoring a tie. The competition was neck to neck, and I was becoming furious now. The 3rd round was like a life and death situation for me. To hell with Tatsumi, I can't lose to this guy. He is a jerk, and I don't want to spend my entire college year listening to his bragging about how he defeated me in tug of war. A sinister idea came to my mind. I noticed the sharp pointy metal fence standing right behind Jack.
Oh, no.
The tip of those fences was like a series of knives peeping to cut the wind passing by. Someone in the back of my mind spoke in an evil voice. "Do it, Andrew. This game is real life. Teach him a lesson." I grabbed the rope real tight, and as soon as the horn honked, I started to pull. I pulled with all my strength in the beginning so that Jack also puts his entire energy into pulling me. I knew how desperate he was to overthrow me from the popular boy tag. When his energy was at its peak and I could see him sweating for trying so hard, I acted as if the rope slipped away from my hand. The sudden counteraction, followed by the very common laws of physics, made Jack drift back in friction. He couldn't control his body weight and fell right on the sharp edges of the metal fences. Two pointy tips pierced right through his eyes, spraying brain matter that dripped on the ground. He didn't even get the chance to scream or suffer as his soul left his body right away. Everyone was screaming like crazy, and Tatsumi broke into tears seeing this horrifying scene. The paramedics were called. The cops came as well. Many of our friends were shooting the game, hence, whatever happened got caught into their camera. I am still facing some legal troubles, as Jack's parents have set up a lawyer blaming me. I made it happen. But the footage was mostly focused on Jack, hence no one could notice my evil deed. Being the rich kid, I'm pretty sure my dad will get me out of this without any trouble, but every night, as I go to bed, I could see Jack standing near me with his eyes hanging on his cheeks. He never speaks, never makes a sound, just stands there to remind me of what only I know. I don't know how I will make him go, but I'm not giving my confession either. My psychiatrist says this is just my mind playing tricks on me. I don't know how long I will be able to cope if he continues visiting me like this in the middle of the night.
Scary clown horror stories. Alright, I am going to probably have a heart attack.
This happened when I turned 13. It was the same year when my grandfather died. I wasn't very close to him, but I saw my parents get shattered with his untimely demise. I lived with my parents who loved me more than life. My dad worked in real estate, and my mom was a housewife. We moved out to a close neighborhood where my father bought a big enough house to make a fresh start. Moving into a new neighborhood, that too, on the week before your birthday, sucked. I barely had friends, and I had no idea whom to invite. My mom organized a birthday party in our backyard, and my dad invited the entire neighborhood kids. The party was in full swing with my parents trying their best to mix it up with the neighbors. I, on the other hand, was sitting on a swing and watching some mean girls make fun of me standing in the distance. That was the first time I saw Loppy, a fat, chubby clown with a painted white face and a red nose. I was surprised to see him dressed up in an old brown tattered suit. Except for his face, he had no clown-like feature. He stood there with an awkward smile right behind those mean girls. The girls didn't pay attention to him. He walked around the entire party without breaking eye contact with me. When he finally came near me, I asked him, "Did my dad hire you?" He just nodded his head up and down, saying yes. I'm already having a hard time making friends here, and now my dad called a clown at his 13-year-old daughter's birthday? What was he thinking? I got furious and went straight to my dad. He was in the kitchen getting beers. Seeing me all fired up, he asked what happened. And I told him, I am big enough not to have clowns on my birthday. To my surprise, he answered, he didn't hire any clowns. We both went back to the party, and my eyes searched for Loppy, but he was gone. Since that day, Loppy visits me at my most unexpected moments. I was taking a shower when I felt someone was standing behind the curtains. As I came out, I saw Loppy standing there in my bathroom staring right at the big glass mirror. "What the hell? How did you get inside?" I screamed at him, but he didn't reply. He looked at me with the same awkward face. I came out of the washroom to call my parents, but as I turned back, he was gone. I noticed something was written on the moisture-covered mirror of the bathroom. "I'm Loppy. Can we be friends?" That's how I came to know about his name. Slowly, I started realizing that I'm the only one who can see Loppy. And this realization came in a very horrifying way. One night, around 2 a.m., I woke up feeling thirsty. The jug in my room was empty, so I came downstairs to get myself a glass of water. As my eyes went towards the living room, I froze on the floor. The TV in the living room lost signal while flaunting a snowy screen. An irritating voice came out of it while my mom was passed out on the couch. And there he was, standing right next to her and leaning on her face with his white painted face and red nose. Out of panic and shock, I ended up shouting, "What the hell?" That woke my mom and made Loppy turn his face at me. "What happened, Missy? Why did you scream?" I couldn't speak. Even though my mom woke up, Loppy was still standing beside her and staring directly at me. It scared me to the core that I can perfectly see a fat, creepy clown standing right beside my mom. But she can't. "Missy, are you all right?" Loppy put his finger on his lips and told me not to tell my mom about him. I collected myself, somehow, and replied, Yeah, I'm fine. I just spooked myself." My mom got up and went to her room. As soon as she closed the door of her room, I said in a low but shaking voice, Why can't she see you?" A smile appeared on Loppy's face, flashing his yellow teeth. I again asked him in that same nervous voice, "Are you a ghost?" He nodded his head from left to right, saying no. "Then who are you? How come no one else sees you except me?" I said in a panic. Loppy looked up at the ceiling as if he was trying to listen to something. I followed his eyes, and when I looked back, he was gone again. As more time passed, his sudden appearances started to freak me out even more. One time, my cousin Lily came to stay with us for a while. I remember being alert 24/7, thinking maybe now I'll see Loppy standing behind her. But when 2 days went by and Loppy still didn't show up, I started to blame my mind for playing these tricks. So far, I haven't told anyone about this red-nosed clown, but Lily was more than a sister to me. I finally decided to open up to her. After dinner, we came into my room. I sat near the window while Lily got comfortable on the bed. I told her, putting aside my hesitation, that there's something I'm experiencing which I haven't shared with anyone yet. She was listening to me with great attention as I went on explaining about Loppy and all the incidents that have happened regarding him. We were talking when all of a sudden, I saw Loppy entering my room. I stopped and stared at him with a terrified face. He looked angry this time, and for the first time, he nodded his head from left to right, hinting not to tell Lily about him. My breathing got heavy, and Lily said in a confused voice, "What is it? I don't want to scare you, but he's in here with us." Lily looked around the room frantically and said in a fumbled voice, "Where? Where is he?" "Standing right behind you." "What? What is he doing?" "Oh, sniffing you." Lily jumped from her bed screaming, and I too started sobbing, holding my face into my hands. Our parents rushed in, and Lily fainted right away. She was taken to the hospital as her pressure dropped rapidly. Everyone thought we just spooked each other. Lily went back to her parents, and she broke all contact with me like I was some freak. I started going mad. I desperately wanted Loppy to stop visiting me, and at the same time, I was paranoid to tell anyone, thinking they'll react the same way my cousin did. Loppy started appearing anywhere and everywhere. In the middle of class, I could see him walk towards my teacher and stand beside her. She had no idea that the entire time she taught, a fat, freaky clown kept staring at her. I might have hidden this turmoil state of mind for more time, if not the final incident with my mom took place. I woke up early that day and the sun was yet to come up. As I opened my eyes, I saw Loppy standing in the dark corner of my room and giggling in silence. When he giggled, his body quivered, teeth flashed out, but no sound came. I never heard his voice. He always resided in silence. I screamed at him in disgust. "Why don't you leave me alone? Just get the hell out of my life. I'm not scared of you. You're just a fat, ugly clown." Hearing me hurling at him, Loppy stopped giggling and his face got serious. He slowly walked out of my room. "Hey, where are you going? Stop messing around in my house." I got up and followed him downstairs. He went straight to my parents' room and stood right next to my sleeping mother. I stood near the door and watched him running his ugly, dirty fingers on my mother's cheek. He then took his face close to her and licked her cheek while giving me his same demonic smile. A flash of an old memory struck me immediately. Something took me back to my childhood days. It was like I could see it all happening in front of my eyes like an old movie. I remembered how I used to play with my grandpa every time we visited him. I saw him in my vision again. I saw myself lying on a couch in the basement while my grandpa caressed my cheek with his ugly fingers. He had the same kind of smile that Loppy had moments back. Just then, I saw my mom entering the basement with a furious face and taking me away at that moment. My grandpa didn't say a word. Instead, he just stood there with a guilty face. Oh my God. I remembered. I finally remember. I screamed in pain and collapsed on the floor sobbing. My parents woke up hearing me cry. I told them everything while drowning in my own tears. My mom hugged me tightly and my dad hid his face into his palm. The reason my parents left their hometown and shifted here was to take me away from the troubling memories that my own grandpa caused me when I was 3 years old. I am glad that my mom saved me that day and they cut all ties with him, learning his evil intentions. Loppy is none other than an image of my suppressed conscience, which represented this terrible fact that my grandpa was a child molester. He was a sick psycho who would have scarred me for life if my parents didn't take the right measures instantly. I hope all parents listen to their children and keep an eye on them in their growing years so that no one can ruin their innocence and childhood in any way. After I confronted my family about Loppy that night, I never saw him again. I wonder if he is still standing behind me, sniffing my hair while I write this story.
Hey guys, I see many of you
Alright. That's enough horror. Let's go to Dauntless. Cause I'm bored. You know what I should do? Start this over.
Long ago, we reached for ultimate power and broke the world. But after the upheaval, a new world arose. The Shattered Isles, a world on the edge of the maelstrom. Etheric storms revealed new islands, and with them, new dangers. Even a broken world can provide shelter from the storm. We set sail to find a new home. The behemoths beat us to it. We were not going down without a fight. Kat Sorrell was one of the many who rose to the challenge. Strike now, or you'll never take that behemoth down. Make sure you can still use your sword arm. With proper timing, you can dodge right through a behemoth's attack and escape unscathed. If you're hurt, use a potion. Ramsgate doesn't need any more dead heroes. Your weapon is charged. Hit that behemoth with something special. Years passed, and a new Ramsgate arose from the chaos. With Cat leading the way, we now explore and reclaim the rest of the Shattered Isles. But we can't do it without friends. It's a time for heroes. It's a time to fight. It's a time for slayers. Now, let's see what kind of slayer you are. On an approach course to Ramsgate. I'm sure you're eager to meet Cat Sorrel. After all, she's the hero who saved Ramsgate back before the city even had a name. But nowadays, Cat's in charge of the city's defense, and that means training only veteran slayers. Don't worry, I'll be handling your initial training myself. Meet me in the plaza after we dock.
Yeah, I know.
I knew you'd pull this off. Right. See you later. How dangerous could it be? Let's track this beast down. We did it! Well, heard about some work for us. That's all she wrote.
You certainly got there, eventually. Goodbye, Slayer. Did it! I expected nothing less. Get going. You got work to do. What's the word, Slayer? Been expecting you for a while. Don't get killed.
Oh, it saved my settings before. Okay. I was worried there for a second. This game is called Dauntless. guy's a teleporter. Don't let him come into your house, and then he appeared staring right at you. Not funny too. Oh, quest completed, okay. Date. Ugh.
Behemoths beware! Take the fight to...
Don't ignore me, Slayer. Here is the plan. Don't delay, Slayer. Slayer, let us talk. Well, don't just stand there.
The path ahead is bright.
Let us chat.
Where the heck is the woman that does that?
How goes the slaying?
There it is. Slang is honestly could not be going better.
Let's talk, Captain. Grab your gear. And the battle continues.
Will needs just a moment.
Yes. What is it?
Oh, please. You don't have to salute.
What's he talking about? I wasn't saluting nobody. Chat, did you guys see me salute?
I could not have done better myself. Time is of the essence, Slayer. Keep your senses sharp.
May we speak, friend?
Speak to Wilson. Now to find the guy.
Please, stop by and see your friend. Do this little thing for Wiz. I think you will enjoy this. Give those behemoths a taste of Ostian quality. Stay alive, Slayer.
Let's slay some people. Technically, it's not people. first, I'm gonna get dragon. Wow, that heals you. I'm apparently so dumb. Man, chat, what are we doing with our lives?
Never doubted you for a moment. Listen, I need a few things. I'll... Greetings!
You need a few things? Yeah, well, I'll probably say no, so. Alright, to get this one. Savage hook tooth. Alright, guys.
Hey, good luck.
How do you get a savage hook tooth? That's my question.
Greetings from Ostia. Take care up.
You're a sight for sore Ostian eyes.
I'm a sight for sore eyes? Well, you apparently haven't seen yourself. Roasted. Savage. Savage. I want to bring back just a few more honestly so bored, I have no idea what to do. I could just like freaking watch my own stream.
Yo.
Hello, Shorty. What are you doing?
Nothing. Sitting here watching the game, smoking some bud.
Are you all alone?
What's up? What's up?
What the? Who's that?
Yo, pick up the phone. What's up?
What's up?
Yo, Duque, pick up the phone. Yo.
What's up?
What you doing, son?
Nothing. Just chilling. Killing.
True, true.
So you think Bobby did it?
Do you think Bobby did it?
I don't know.
What? Oh my gosh.
But he was there, Buffy.
I knew there had to be something. He's just too perfect. Handsome, smart, good in bed.
What the?
What did you say?
Hey, Stan. Got you an ice pack for your hand.
Ow!
Sorry. I'll get you one for your head.
No, that's okay, Doofy.
Hey, we're gonna get that guy that you dumped in the water. Yeah. I'll be next door if you need me. Night, Sand.
Buffy, you told him? The moron overheard a conversation Greg and I were having.
Yeah, but what if he says something?
Who's gonna believe a like him anyway? Don't worry. Cindy, telephone.
Yeah, Cindy, telephone.
Hello?
Hello, Cindy.
What the?
Guess what?
No.
You got the wrong guy.
No.
Yep,
Doofy?
it's not Bobby. No.
Who is this? Doofy. Doofy.
Hello? Hello? I said don't disturb me while I'm cleaning my room!
I'm still confused.
I heard Bobby got out this morning.
I haven't seen him around. Is he pissed?
You mean since you branded him the Candyman? No, his heart is broken. Yo, son, it's like I seen this all before.
They had a killer at your old high school, Shorty?
Nah, it was in this movie Scream. Same dialogue and everything. This is ill.
How did it end?
I don't know. Some started shooting up in the movie theater, so we just broke out.
I don't get this at all.
Nice ride.
Does the job.
What job? Delivering pizzas?
It's not the ride. It's the rider.
Okay. What's up? I don't really know what to do anymore.